Karetraba, Karetraba. A little Romanian there for Tommy Purview. Uh, Shout out. I figured I'd get a little international in my what up, what up. Nothing like a little Google Translatito to assist me in that. Political socialization. I figured I'd add this one too in case people wanted to listen. Again, political socialization is the idea that this is how we come up with our political views. And there's several factors that play a role in how we evolve politically. And some of you are just going through that process. Some of you have known your political ideology for quite a while. Again, as we've talked about, the family is the strongest agent, is the best predictor in regards to what an individual's political beliefs will be. Obviously, there is a strong correlation. If your parents are conservative, you're going to be conservative. If your parents are liberal, you're going to be liberal. Oh, wait, hold up. Fox News poll. Trump is at 26% now. Up 1% since August. Watching a little fair and balanced Fox News while I'm doing this. So the Teflon Don continues to do better. I wish I could show you this because the margin of error on there says plus or minus 4.5 points. So not the most reliable poll with that high of a sampling error or a margin of error. Anyways, back to the fun stuff. So generally speaking, if your family is of one particular political belief, you are going to be too. So that is the easiest way, the most reliable way to tell whether or not you are of one particular belief or another. And you need to know that for testing purposes. Schools, depending on where you go, play a big impact on your political ideology. Obviously, you have no idea what my political beliefs are. But if you go to school in, say, a private school like Brother Rice, which is Catholic, you're probably going to have beliefs on the political spectrum that tend to be very conservative, whether it be social or economic realm. If you go to a prep school, which some of the rich in America send their kids, you're likely to have very strong conservative economic beliefs. But schools can have a big impact on some, maybe not others. If you go to a military school, you're probably going to lean towards conservatism. Conservatives tend to be very much into the military and having a strong military presence in the global society. Your high school government class could play a big role in that. Hopefully, I pray that you're at least learning a little bit about where you stand on political issues and what party and what candidates you support, and have an idea why you support them. To be honest, I don't really care who you support. As long as you can tell me why you support those individuals, that's my goal. So that when you vote, that you tend to be a knowledgeable voter, which, as I've said in the past, most Americans really probably don't know quite so sure why they're supporting the candidate other than I really like Democrats or I really like Republicans. College students tend to be very liberal or libertarian, tend to want less government. High school kids, I would say, typically fall in that camp too. They don't want the government telling them what to do. That's the beauty of youth. Enjoy it while you have it. As you get older, some people, not everybody, tends to get a little more conservative. If from the prior screencast on public opinion and polling, the exit polls that we saw showed that married individuals tend to be a little more conservative. Religion. This is where some kids get a little confused. I think Protestant is very easy. I've emphasized, and I will continue to emphasize, that evangelical Christians, which tend to be more Protestant in nature, that really believe in the Word, in the Bible, tend to be very conservative. And generally speaking, this portion of the religious demographic tends to be heavily occupied in the southern part of the United States. The South tends to be very conservative. It's not to say that economic issues don't matter to them, but issues on religion and these social issues like gay marriage, like abortion, tend to maybe drive their political beliefs and the candidates that they support. Now, what becomes particularly difficult for kids in the Elmhurst area is this issue of Catholic voters. Traditionally, they voted Democratic, and traditionally, they've leaned slightly liberal. I would reason, and you'll never know unless you talk to every Catholic voter, that the reason for this is traditionally Catholic demographics. Talk about the Irish when they immigrated, heavily Catholic. Italians when they immigrated, heavily Catholic. Latinos when they've immigrated to this country, heavily Catholic. Those groups of Catholic voters probably were primarily concerned about economic issues. So you talk about, for example, the great wave of Italians and Irish and Europeans coming to this country who are Catholic. Their main issue in the early 20th century was not social issues, it was economic issues. And Democrats, especially with FDR and the New Deal policies, provided them with opportunities that they became very loyal to that party. Now, the amount of Catholics that have continued to vote for the Democratic Party has decreased. When you talk about the late 20th century with social issues like abortion, the gay rights movement, you have Southern Catholics and Catholics all over the country who may find the social issues to be more important than economic issues. So it's not to say that every Catholic supports a Democrat or is liberal. It's just to say that from a historic standpoint, we look over a period of elections, not just one election. Typically, Catholics tend to vote Democratic. Doesn't mean they're hippie liberals. Jewish voters are overwhelmingly Democratic and typically around the 80% range. Race, as we looked, Caucasian voters tend to lean towards the Republican Party, hence are a little more conservative. African American voters are the most loyal demographic there is towards a party. Over 90% on most years vote Democratic. You need to know that. Hispanic voters tend to vote Democratic, sometimes up in the 70 to 75% range. Oh my goodness, I just saw a picture of Hillary Clinton with sunglasses on. Unbelievable. If you break down the Hispanic vote, you can see that Cubans tend to support Republicans. Again, if we would only know why if we asked every Cuban voter, why do you support Republicans? But we'll go into that in more detail in class. And Asian voters tend to be more liberal. Income, very easy to understand and get an idea of why more money you make, you tend to be conservative and support the Republican Party. They support less taxes, which if you make more money, typically you're probably going to like. Individuals who are making lower income on the socioeconomic scale tend to support Democrats and be more liberal. Democrats support and liberals support more social programs to help those who may be struggling. Gender, males tend to lean conservative and support Republicans. Females tend to lean liberal and support the Democrats. An issue like abortion might be particularly salient or important to women and might be one of the reasons why they lean towards the Democratic Party. An issue like guns might be something that men might be more concerned about, more salient to them, which may be why they lean towards the Republican Party and are more conservative. Again, you would have to ask every voter, why did you vote Democratic or why did you vote Republican, to really know the exact reason. The last thing I want to talk about is cross pressure. In the book, they call it, I believe, cross-cutting cleavages. Interesting term. This is the idea that when you have multiple demographics, you might be an African American male, but you may also be Protestant. It's more difficult to tell how they're going to vote, because as an African American male, you lean Democrat. As a Protestant, you lean Republican. So some individuals, if you're a rich female, it may be a little more difficult to tell whether or not you're going to lean Democratic. Peace.